Greetings, Brother Bones. I believe now we should be coming through loud and clear.
Peace, everyone.
Or at least I think we should be. Yep, we're coming through loud and clear.
So how everyone doing this evening?
I am well. How are you?
No complaints. Just finishing editing another video.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm waiting.
What's going on?
Stars and quasars, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. Working the drill.
Eating cereal?
No, just putting stuff in the kitchen.
I just want the brethren to know as well, just coming in, Brother Thomas Thomas said we are live. Not going to be long at all. Hope we're coming through clear. Hold on, just one moment. Let me make sure we're coming through the right way.
Okay.
Oh man, just thought I'd drop that little nugget in there for those that didn't know. Like I said, the purge that had began a while ago is now coming back. But I wanted to just drop a few nuggets this evening, and then I'll be gone like a thief in the night.
What you mean you be like a thief in the night? Where you going?
If I tell you that, then I wouldn't be like a thief in the night.
Fine.
Oh, there's Brother No Sellout. Well.
Man, I almost thought I wasn't invited. I was like, how did they get on the panel?
Man, I hope everything is well for you. It's been going well for you.
Oh, everything is gravy. I appreciate you. I hope the same to you and yours and everybody on the panel. Peace to the panel. Peace to the chat.
Really? That's what we doing?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess I've appropriately, and as well on some occasions, for some people may inappropriately have titled this "LIARS and Tyres" and the right to bear arms this evening. Like I said, I'm not gonna keep everybody long. It's just a thing. Like I say, this still. I'm glad somebody caught it. You know, sometimes my comedy goes over people's heads. I don't know how some things that, as we notice, especially those that have been in what's called this community for a little bit, things get recycled and no research is done. We just keep hearing the same things regurgitated, and people begin to believe it. That's why I gave the example on the last live stream about, Saddam Hussein, weapons of mass destruction, Saddam Hussein, and 9/11, Saddam Hussein, weapons of mass destruction, Saddam Hussein, 9/11, and we kept hearing that over and over and over until we began to believe that to be true. This is kind of just where we left off a little bit, and then we're going to get into, before we do that, I want to get into the current events, because I know Brother Bones been hitting them with the heat, too, when it comes to those CDBG funds. And I know he's using it in Cobb County, in case y'all didn't know, down there in Georgia, that those funds were being used. Brother Bones, can you kind of elaborate on some of the things on how the CDBG funds were being used in Cobb County?
Yeah, well, basically, the way they're accessed, as you've seen in the video, let's say if the population there, they need home improvements and don't have the financial means, it allows them as individuals to tap into community development block grants to improve their homes. Now, let's say if there's resources that's needed, how you heard them spoke about the children in Cobb County needed a new park, the elderly need a new center. So it allows businesses to access these same funds to build the infrastructure. If you need improvements, how the hospital needed a new AC, they needed additions so they can take in more people. It allows you to use these grants to improve your community. That's what they're there for. You see at the bottom, it tell you since 1800, and I'm like, that's what it's there for.
And if we don't use them, they go to other organizations and nonprofits and for-profits and private and public partnerships because they say, hey, we don't, the people that are on using it. Can you touch on one of the other factors that tie into something that's coming up in 2020 that tie into how much funding is available through CDBG? One of the most important elements is it's a tug of war for ears and attention. Something that's coming up in 2020 on how that factors in directly with CDBG. Can you touch on that for me, brother?
Yes, no problem. That would be the census. Like we've been pointing out, and many others before us and after us will point out, the census deals with allocation of resources. So now, the community developmental block grants, the more people that apply towards the census, let them know they're there. It lets them know how much more funding this community needs to be up to par. So when people tell you don't apply for the census, that's less funding that you can access to improve your community. Again, the census deal with allocation of resources.
So if you say that you refuse to fill out the census, and although people see you, city workers see you, Department of Transportation workers see you, but you never bothered to fill out a census. So according to these organizations and the different departments in DC, just because they see you, are you counted? Do you factor in?
No, you are not counted. If you do not participate, you are not counted. It takes participation to be counted. And again, if someone's telling you don't participate in the census, then by all means, you can't complain about the conditions of your neighborhood. You can't complain about the conditions of your children's school. But you can't complain about nothing about the condition of your life if you're standing on not participating in the U.S. Census. It's how our neighborhoods get the resources that's so vitally needed to improve them.
Sounds like local voting as well.
And history shows, because of our lack of participation, voila, lack of funding to our communities, underfunded schools. It's not rocket science.
So the battle is for those that saying don't get counted. And I want to put this out there because I want people to know. You don't have to fill out the information on the long form. I know it may ask you what kind of car you have, how much money you make. You don't have to fill out that portion of it as long as just be counted so that the census enumerators and those that take in all these statistics, including the Department of HUD and the Department of Justice and the Community Development Block Grant, all these individual departments have that data that say you exist. I think some people are kind of confused or they kind of scared to say, oh, they trying to take a blood sample for me. it is the census form is voluntary, but here's the kicker: if you don't fill out any information, then you have volunteered to erase yourself. So don't come on here complaining about the way your community is looking and they left you alone and nobody cares and you're shouting to the top of your lungs, because as far as they are concerned and as far as you are concerned, because you volunteered not to fill it out, you do not exist. And it's amazing to me that those that are sitting here saying, do not fill out the census, are the same ones that's bringing you programs talking about doing your genealogy. I'm still waiting on that one. Because whether they say you're on the dolls rolls or not, guess what? If you're looking for relatives on the dolls rolls, that's a census. Because they're taking numbers of the family. So when you go in there and look at your family, they say, oh, it was 4 people from the Anderson family that were here. Here's where they came in and here's where they were. That's a census. Any roles that you're looking at is a census. If you're looking at military records, that's a census, because their military record states their height, weight, description, and where they are from. And that's going all the way back. So anyone that's sitting there saying, oh, I'm doing my genealogy, but don't do the census because we don't want to do it, then I really want to know. And I'm going to open it up because here we are, and I'll send you the link. Please just shoot me an email and I will send you the link. But please come on and explain to me, because I'm not being facetious. I really want to know, how are you doing your genealogy without checking census records? I'm going to wait. I'm going to yield the mic because I've been talking too much for a little bit. Anyone else want to jump in? Because I got some questions for, I don't know if Brother Thomas was available, but I have some questions for him as well. But I'm going to yield the mic.
Can I add something to that? Doing genealogy, also phone records and registered addresses are also considered census, because the phone records, like when you're pulling them up on ancestry.com, it'll show name, birth date, the addresses registered to, and all possible people in the home registered to that address under that name. For phone records, public phone records, and registered addresses.
No doubt about it. So go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with a couple of videos dealing with that, how you trace phone records, and also using the National Archives to find relatives that could have been in documented media. I don't want to give a date until I know officially, but I can promise this much: I'll have it ready before the 1st.
Outstanding. You're hearing this in real time, people. In case you didn't know, for those that are in the chat, I have a request for those in the chat: get those thumbs down. Put those thumbs down. Get them down. No one liked this video. Put all thumbs down. Brother Thomas, are you available? I know you've been busy lately as well. I think he's still over there banging on that keyboard over there, but I know he'll probably be back shortly. Brother, no sellout, man.
I ain't did nothing.
While the battle is raging, the band played on.
My check, how's everybody doing?
I hope everybody's doing all right, especially this last Saturday of the year. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to touch on something that you mentioned, enumeration. And like I said, this is not a shot to no one. This is for everybody just to take a step back again and let's think. Everybody got enumerated one way or another, either through so-called dolls rolls, either through military records, phone records, land records, tax records, business records. They counted everything. Why do you think you can go so far back down certain lines? Because they counted everything.
And here's the crazy part that people I want to put it out there because there are those. Oh, Brother Thomas is back. I want to give him an opportunity to grab the mic.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could be heard. Can everybody hear me okay? My mute was acting crazy.
Sounds super low.
You said sounds low?
Maybe it's my end, but it sounds low.
What about now? What about now? Is that better?
Yeah, that's way better.
All right. All right. So what's going on? What you need, James?
No, I just wanted to touch on. I know we've been touching on Indians taxed versus Indians not taxed, and I know this is your field of expertise. And the rumors have been keep going around that there are Indians on reservations that are not taxed, and the difference between tax exempt and not taxed. Can you just give us just the cliff notes of that? The difference between tax exempt, because people I think are confusing tax exempt status with not taxed.
Okay, so tax exempt means you belong to a nonprofit or some type of charitable organization that's registered with the state where you are tax exempt. We've done numerous bills on 501cs and nonprofits and trust entities where you are not taxed the regular way, meaning you are tax exempt, and any entity can file for their tax exemption status. So it's any corporate entity that files for tax exemption status that is exempt from many taxes. There are still some taxes paid, but for the most part, that entity, because it is a quote unquote 501c and it has a tax exempt status, does not have to pay federal taxes like a regular corporation or an employee. As far as an Indian being non-tax, I will say this: any individual that is not nationalized or naturally nationalized, meaning when you're born into the United States and you receive a social security number, you are a citizen and a national. If you are coming to this country in the hopes of getting nationalized, meaning you have a green card, whether it's a green card and it's a student visa or something like that, your goal is to hope to get on the list to become nationalized. And you have to be in this country for at least 7 years before that happens. That whole time, you're not taxed. So basically, when people are saying not taxed, they're basically talking about either immigrants waiting to be nationalized or illegal immigrants that could be deported. Either way, those individuals that are that are not citizens can be deported because they're not citizens. And I heard someone say that, well, Indians can never not be citizens. Well, if you denounce your nationality, or if you denounce your land, or if you denounce the state that you're in, or you denounce the fact that you're a citizen of these United States, you can not be an Indian. How do you think Indians got kicked out of tribes? So people are saying stuff and they're not thinking because people aren't thinking and they just listen to what people say. They don't do any research. They just go off of what someone says because they hold a title or they have a lot of followers and no one's ever met these people and they just go off of what they say. So hopefully I broke down the difference between not taxed and tax exempt.
So I want to pull Sister Gabrielle Union. I have a question. So
I was about to ask a question.
I'm gonna get this thing before you jump in. So you're telling me if I go the legitimate way of actually forming a non-profit or charitable organization, that it is much easier to do that than it is to go with this not tax status of not really having a nation. Because again, what nation are you following, and if you are denouncing your status as a U.S. citizen under the 1924 Snyder Act, then in a nutshell, you don't have a home. So you're in suspended animation. And if you're claiming a non-tax status, but every law and rule that you're pulling from is from Morocco, and they don't claim you, but the United States has every right to deport you because you have declared that you're not a U.S. citizen. So you're literally just sitting there on the ship because you can never get off the ship and go to the land because you don't have, where do you go? You a ship without a dock. Go ahead, Sister Gabrielle Union.
Well, my question was along the same lines. So, like reiterating your question. So, there are proper ways, legal ways to file for or implement tax exempt. And there are proper ways to, and legal ways to, I guess, establish or correct without giving up citizenship, if that makes sense.
Not only is there a way, there's a #1 selling book and a #1 rated webinar about how to do it the legal way.
Did you say a book and a webinar?
I'm just about to say, dude, pray tell.
Yes, a book and a webinar. The webinar will be airing tomorrow.
So the webinar is for the students of the Zoolander School, for kids that can't read very good but like to do other things.
Well,
So if you can't read the book, or you don't want to read the book, then you telling me there's a cheat sheet in the form of a webinar? Is that what you're telling me, Brother Bones?
Yes, sir. You are correct.
That's
You
what I
know,
heard.
if you don't mind me reading something, because the question went in my mind: what is citizenship status? What is, and so if you don't mind me reading the definition that I was able to pull up, please.
Go ahead. I knew you were going to read anyway. Read.
Make sure you provide the link too, so people can access it.
In the chat?
Oh, most definitely, yep.
Okay, I'm gonna need help. Okay. I will provide the link. It says citizen is the status of a person recognized under the custom or law of being a legal member of a sovereign state or belonging to a nation. The idea of citizenship has been defined as the capacity of individuals to defend their rights in front of the governmental authority. A person may have multiple citizenships. And I'll go ahead and put that link in the chat.
Also, there's also a link that talks about that I'm going to read from. It says, "What is a U.S. national?" And matter of fact, let me put that link in there right now. This is dealing with citizenship and green cards and the like, so people can get a better understanding of what we're talking
you on this that owe allegiance to a state?
So it says, what is a U.S. national? It says all U.S. citizens are U.S. nationals, but there are some U.S. nationals who are not U.S. citizens. Therefore, this article discusses only U.S. nationals that are not U.S. citizens. Definition: a U.S. national is a person born in or having ties with an outlying possession of the United States, which, as of 2019, refers only to American Samoa and Swains Island. Now, this is as of 2019, but I'll keep reading. Additionally, it also includes those individuals born abroad of two U.S. national parents or those born abroad to one alien parent and one U.S. national parent. Additionally, there is a residency requirement for the parents of the children prior to birth in order to transmit U.S. nationality, past U.S. nationals. In the past, those who were born in Guam 1898 to 1950, Puerto Rico 1898 to 1917, the U.S. Virgin Islands 1917 to 1927, or the Philippines, the Philippines, interesting, 1898 to 1946 were U.S. nationals. However, presently, those who are born in Guam, Puerto Rico, or the U.S. Virgin Islands are full U.S. citizens, and the Philippines is an independent country, and citizenship was never accorded to them. Let me read a little bit further. It says rights and restrictions. U.S. nationals cannot vote in any election or hold an elected office. Rights: allowed to work and reside anywhere in the U.S. without restrictions, eligible to apply for a U.S. passport, but just like U.S. citizens. In fact, there is no difference between the passport of a U.S. national and a U.S. citizen. Both of them mention the nationality USA. Eligibility to apply for U.S. citizenship through naturalization under the same rules as other permanent residents. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got right there.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So as of
Philippines.
2019, as of 2019, there are only two U.S. nationals, American Samoa and individuals of the Swains Island. Everybody else is either a citizen or an immigrant waiting to be nationalized, or an illegal immigrant that can be deported. And if you renounce your nationality or you renounce your citizenship, you have placed yourself in the category of an illegal alien. Thus, you have given up all of your rights for protection. That's the reason why people come here and have their children born here, because they don't, even while they don't have rights, their children have rights through naturalization. Whereas where they can get deported, but their kids can't, which is what Trump right now is trying to change. So whenever someone tells you that you to renounce your citizenship or renounce your nationality or renounce your nation or renounce allegiance to the government, they're basically making you an illegal alien. And what's interesting enough is that they've done the paperwork for you. They can now take on your citizenship and become you and steal your identity. But I digress. That's another story for another day. I'm sorry.
You were mentioning anchor babies in that last part you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Does it some? Oh.
No, go ahead.
I got a question. Doesn't someone filling out your paperwork and submitting it for you makes you incompetent?
Not only makes you incompetent, but you've done the one thing that the United States government told you not to do: give out your social security number. So if they have your social security number, they have your birth certificate. Not only do they know the key ingredients to become you, but they're making you not be you, and now they have access to you. So think about this: you renounce your social security number, you renounce your birth certificate. Who's going to take your place? Now, here's something to think about. Every year we have so many people die in the United States, and I'm still doing the research on it, but I think the only reason why they allow so many people to become nationalized and become United States citizens because they're only going to allow so many people to do so at a time. So I think personally, I haven't proven it, but I'm doing some research, and I think it's based on the death records. And once those social security numbers go up because people have passed, then they pull from that list of people waiting on that list and they allow them to become citizens. Now, here's the rub. You have people that are now declaring themselves nationals who are renouncing their social security numbers. So that creates a whole new pool of people who can offer services to immigrants coming from another country to take your social security number. Something to think about, because no one ever asks what happens to those social security numbers. They get regenerated in population, but they don't get regenerated like those social security numbers of people that have passed away. This scheme is a lot bigger than what most people realize or what most people think about. So I'm done.
Correct. It ties back into automated fraud schemes that have been going on for the last 10 years. I mean, in reality.
And all this talk about, you know, waters and ships and ankles and babies. Makes me think about something. Y'all are going to figure it out one day. You know, this return, all this return home, talking about Ghana. I'm gonna get the article, and I should have done it, but you know, like I said, this is really the nighttime show, and so it just flows at times. Um, with the leader from Ghana telling the men not to marry these U.S. women when they come over to Ghana on the right to return, but have their babies, and they will become prosperous. Nobody's paying attention to the ploy. If you having a baby with that woman and she goes back to the United States because Ghana's not all what it's cracked out to be, you can now come back because guess what? You had that ankle baby.
Yes, sir.
Y'all had to figure that out.
I actually know.
Night anchor baby.
You got no mama or dad. Go ahead, lady. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lady Gabrielle. Knock us out. Gabrielle,
I know a woman that happened to, and I was just like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, and yeah, the goal was initially to like they set it up. They in advance set up 2 weddings, but he wanted her to have the first wedding in North America in the United States, and then have the second wedding where he's from. But before they got married, he was pushing to make sure she got pregnant first.
Can you say that again? Because I know it's sometimes, you know, when we say things, it doesn't resonate like it does coming from a woman versus us. So can you say that again, please?
So someone I know met a man who is from another landmass, completely outside of what we call the United States. And within a year's time, he was pushing for her to get married. I mean, get pregnant before they actually had their wedding. They had a wedding set up within the United States and a wedding set up where he's from. She flew out to where he's from, met the family, thought things were off and weird, relayed that information to me. Absolutely, it's weird, shouldn't do it. That's not love, but okay. He pushed for some reason. They met up a lot. He wanted her to get pregnant to ensure that they would have a fulfilled marriage. And the first wedding that was set up within the United States, North America, and then they would have their second wedding 3 months later where he's from. But she would be pregnant during that first wedding.
Well, okay. Sister Gabrielle, how long have we been knowing each other?
Couple of months.
Okay. How do we have similar stories? And I know these two people that were 4 individuals, because you know of 2 and I know of 2, have the same stories. And I know they've never met. I know 6 degrees of separation will be the odds that these are the same people that it happened to.
You know, there's nothing, I don't believe in coincidences or things happen by chance. I mean, I don't know about the odds, but I guess I could tell you about the positives, the evens.
Ooh, just put it out there. I mean, let's just stop for a moment. Let's just stop for a moment and think about it. that this is another ploy, another gimmick. And I'll say this again. I will say this until the cows come home, as my grandmother used to say. I have nothing against Africans. I have nothing against West Africans. I would have put it out there. But if this country has mistreated those calling themselves African Americans, why would you want to come over here?
Good question.
Can I add something? And this is for me was the odd thing. Her significant other's conversation, and this is what was like, bells going off. You can't unring a bell. So what was odd to me was that he said similar things to things that I heard coming from different groups within the United States, different people within the United States. And his associates said the same thing, which I was just like, that sounds kind of weird to me. How would he even know these things if he's not from here? How would he even know about these things if he's not from here? Sounds kind of odd. I actually had her get her passport a certain way, fill out the information a certain way. It just reminded. I apologize. I was just reminded of that just now.
No, you're perfectly fine. The reason being, sometimes, because I've been known as a jokester, because people don't understand that the court gesture is actually the one that controls the culture when it comes to royalty. So I guess that's why I took on the spirit of the jokester for that very reason. If you know anything about playing poker, jokers are wild. But when we break it down and it starts to get personal, now we start to see where the rubber meets the road. Now we realize this is more than just YouTube battles. Because again, I've been around the block a few times, and I've enough to see when I speak to individuals, I can tell where they get the majority of their news, so-called news, from. Because they're not getting the information, they're not getting the accurate information. What they call news is now more of entertainment. And when I'm out and about in certain realms and I hear people, I can tell, yep, you've been listening to Fox News 24/7. I can tell by your speaking points, I can tell by your stance that you don't listen to anything else. And the flip side, I can go to those, I'm like, yep, you've been listening to MSNBC all day long. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to add, it was okay. It was weird. One day she said to me, he told me that no one can tell him what to do. And he was in another country working in or whatever. He was in another country at the time of this conversation. And I was like, what do you mean? No one can tell you what to do. And it got into some, I don't even like this word now, but it got into some jurisdiction stuff. And I was just like, oh, you don't hear it? Because I do. But okay.
So you're telling me that this jurisdiction talk has been placed in a glass bottle and thrown out to sea and is landing on other coasts. Is that what you're telling us this evening?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely can say that someone in from one continent.
I want to go even further. The majority of the teachers of this foolishness on other land masses. That's how bad it is.
Ooh. Did I tell you how they met? And I'm not trying to be funny
No.
or like
Please tell us. Please.
online.
You mean the internet?
Absolutely.
So no one pulled the plug on the whole internet.
I don't think so. I think it's still working.
So these people don't understand. And when I say these people, the people that are just saying, "Oh yeah, you could do this and you could do that and dance around a little bit and it's okay," and not realizing that you are placing yourself in a position of vulnerability to be exposed to international criminal activity.
Let me tell you the real kicker. He told her who she was. I'm not even being funny.
Wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. Say that again.
He told her who she was. He asked her where her family was from. She told him. He told her who she was.
You talking about this dude being Professor X or something on the X-Men?
Look you up on the internet, get all your information. You're giving the wrong stuff.
Whoa. Not just that. It wasn't just that. It was he told her who she was as far as who she really is, where she really comes from. And everything else just fell into place. And I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm not saying this to make a joke of it, because it was really, really sad. Still is sad. For me, I look at it as a sad situation. But yeah.
I know exactly what you're going through. And I'll say this, and like I say it because again, being the court gesture, but similar situation. This young lady was naive and they come and they, you think, oh, they're talking in a foreign language or they have a certain accent and that's exotic. And so they get wrapped up in it.
I need to go to Charleston.
Yep.
You know.
You know, this individual ended up having his baby. They got married. He took the son. You know how it is with them and sons. Took the son, went over back to Africa for a little bit, stayed longer than he should. She got upset. He came back for a little bit, said, oh, we go back, next summer. He's somewhere floating around because she can't find him. No, her son.
Oh.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm going to say something. And this is actual true story, maybe a little bit too personal. Got a sister that had children, 2 children, a boy and a girl, with a man who was from another country. He passed away. The sister now has the children, and no one knows where they are. The sister-in-law now has the children, and no one knows where they are.
See, people think that there's something just coming off of Netflix or something or Amazon Prime. It's a real life situation, and the thing about it is, this was happening long before the internet became public. And y'all thought that it just stopped with those emails saying, hey, you send me a $10,000 and I will give you back $100 million when I get out. Thank you, brother. Y'all thought that the scheme and the scam just went that far. It's gone way beyond that. And that's why I wanted to go back to Ghana. When they're telling you, hey, just have these babies. just have these babies with these women. Because I'm hearing men talking about going to Ghana, but I'm hearing a lot of females talking about this return. And they getting caught up in celebrityism because they getting these celebrities about, yeah, I'm going back. I'm going back because my people are here to going back. You go ahead and you knock yourselves out. That's why I come in again. It still comes back to this 2020 census. And if you have made your declaration, you say, oh, I want to go home, you're going to find yourself with no home. You're going to find yourself in a situation to where you get caught up and you be like, oh, you like you see in the movies, I can always go to the U.S. Embassy. Wrong, wrong, wrong. When they check your status and you have said, I am not a U.S. citizen, you are literally without a home. You have nowhere to go. You are a ship that is constantly out at sea. So I'm not, for those that say, oh, it works for me, it works for me, it works for me, this is what I do. I'm still waiting on this whole tribe to come and say, where Indians not taxed as a tribe, whether you're an urban Indian, which is Ush, or whether you're on the reservation. So I'm trying to figure out, as a tribe, give me a tribe that is saying we as a tribe are not taxed. Don't give me something and slide me a receipt from Applebee's saying, see, I didn't pay taxes. You can be tax exempt and it has no taxes on there. You can go to Office Depot and buy supplies because you have your tax exempt status. As you heard from Brother Thomas, two different meanings, two different things. And people are trying to interchange the two because they're taking screenshots, or they going live and they're sitting out eating somewhere and saying, look, I didn't pay taxes. Come on, son. Come on, son.
Can I share
Y'all better
something else?
think. Yes, ma'am.
Before you do that, Gabrielle, I want no, I put the link in. It's a
link, yeah.
It's a government website, and it says renounce or you lose your U.S. citizenship. And here's some things that's critical. And I'm just going to read it right quick. And it says, you will no longer be an American citizen if you voluntarily renounce your U.S. citizenship. You might lose your U.S. citizenship in specific cases, including if you run for public office in a foreign country under certain conditions, enter military service in a foreign country under certain conditions. That's what happens. Those are some of the things that can cause you to lose your citizenship. It says internationally acquire citizenship in a foreign country, except if you acquire it through marriage to a foreign national. You may become a dual national instead. Commit an act of treason against the United States. So those are ways that you can become, you can lose your citizenship. It says now, giving up U.S. citizenship has consequences. You should never take this decision lightly, as it can only be undone under very limited circumstances. Meaning, once you renounce your citizenship, it can only be undone under limited circumstances. And there's a link that talks about renouncing your U.S. citizenship. So here's some of the things that you're giving up and what that means. And hopefully people who have done this have done those things, because if not, the consequence is going to be greater than you think. It says, give up your rights and responsibilities of a U.S. citizen. So, I mean, some people might not be concerned about their rights and responsibility. But this part right here is very important. It says, you must become a citizen of another nation, meaning the moment you give up your citizenship, you must become a citizen of another nation or risk becoming stateless. Now, when they say another nation, they don't mean a fake nation. A nation is only recognized by another nation. So if the nation that you're part of is not recognized by another nation, you are at risk of becoming stateless. And it says you may need a visa to visit the United States. So let's look at what the definition of stateless is. And I'm going to use Wikipedia. You can use whatever source you want to, but there are sources at the bottom of Wikipedia. So it says, and this is international law for those of you who love law. This article is about personal lacking state affiliation for the use as stateless. It says, the international law, a stateless person is someone who is not considered as a national by any state under the operation of its law. Some stateless people are also refugees. However, not all refugees are stateless. And many people who are stateless have never crossed an international border. On the 12th November 2018, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees warned that there are 12 million stateless people in the world. So, so you are considered a refugee and stateless if you have not become a citizen of another nation.
And you know what's interesting about what you read?
What's that?
The fourth way that you can lose your citizenship: treason. What is treason? Doing anything against your government, like calling yourself overthrowing the government, taking power from the government.
Oh, I want to share. I got my hand up.
Oh, it says treason. It says treason, a crime betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign or overthrow the government. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Gabby.
Okay, I can put my hand down. I literally have my hand up. Okay, here's the thing. There are some people telling people to fill out paperwork and whatnot that makes them stateless. My question is this: if people are doing this and it makes them stateless, even from the state that they were born in, what does that mean by what you read?
They will be deported. You're an immigrant. Those are the people that you hear on the news. Make no mistake about it. Those are them so-called African Americans that you hear on the news every now and then. They get deported to a country and just can't come back. Do the research to these people and find out what they were doing. It will shock you.
Can I share something else?
Shoot.
All right. A cousin thought they was going back to Africa. They went to Africa. They came back from Africa because it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. And they weren't from Africa and found out that they weren't African American. It took them a year to find out. Whole family, husband, wife, children, not African American, but completely American. And it was some problems with trying to get the paperwork taken care of for that because that would have been false paperwork, false information. Bought into the whole going back, the LL Cool J, going back to Cali, going back to Africa, and came back. Tail tucked completely between their legs.
Are you saying that all that glitters ain't gold?
Yeah, sometimes it's just glitter.
The grass is not always green on the other side. There's dirt over there too.
Yeah, it might be spray painted.
And if the grass is green, the water bill is higher. Think about it. I just wanted to tie that in. I'm gonna put something in the back chat, and you all may enjoy this for a little bit because it's gonna get back to. We were probably trying to figure out, like, how does this tie into what he talked about the last time? And I'm gonna start going live more consistently. And I apologize. There's been a lot of things going on. Things are finally slowing down. No thanks to brother No Sellout over there, but things are slowing down so I can be more consistent.
I just thought of another story. Can I tell
ahead.
it?
Go ahead.
A friend of mine, real good friend of mine, was born in another country. Not Africa, but another country. Or I guess it would be close, somewhere in that region. Mother had a couple of children by different men. And we're real good. She's real honest about the situation and everything and understands what it is. She wanted to mother brung her and her siblings to um, America, to North America, when she was young. She wanted to join the military. Could not join the military until she proved, for some reason, whatever was going on, until she proved that her father was American. Had a conversation with her mother, and had an understanding with what her mother did and why her mother did what she did with all, not just her, but her other siblings, to be in North America. Because that's the story, that's what's told. This is what you want to do. A baby has to be involved.
Okay, I'm a little confused. Can you help me out?
Okay, so I guess my point is just this. It's not just men. It's also women too. So it's not like you're just catching it from one side. You're going to catch it from both sides.
Oh yeah, like I said, it's getting to. But the reason why I was looking at the women, because there has been a push, a serious push, that all of the men that are in our culture are no good. They're switch hitters, or they're just completely out of the closet. So you hear the women say, "Oh, there are no good men here."
No, that's not true. That's
I
not
know
true.
it's not true, but I'm saying that's the push.
It's a stereotype that's pushed.
That's the push. So now you have all these women. Yeah, I'm gonna go to Ghana. I'm going to Ghana to get me a man. Okay, you knock yourself out, and you go right ahead. So when a leader, an elected official, is telling you, "Hey, have babies with these women. Don't worry about marrying them yet," and no bells, lights, and whistles are going off because the beehive is telling you we're gonna do this return. Come on, son.
What's that old saying? Why buy the cow when you can have the milk for free?
But in this situation, it's a switcheroo. See, that's the part that people got to be aware of. There's two very important numbers that were stated: 12 million stateless people, and 80% of the people in the sovereign citizen aren't trying to do anything illegal.
So that means that those numbers are going to start combining with each other. They're going to start mixing. Yes.
They already are. They already are.
And can I correct something for people who think they're smart? For those of you who have already declared that you are not a U.S. citizen, you have already enumerated yourself.
Yes.
Because
Since you bring that up, can you explain that?
Well, there's a database of individuals that turn in their paperwork. You got to realize the government keeps track of everything. So the moment that you make your declaration that you are no longer a U.S. citizen, that's counted.
Didn't he just read there's 12 million stateless people on the planet? So somebody counting.
Yes,
As soon as you put out that paperwork and turned it into a government facility, they counted you. I don't know what people talking about. Everybody counted. You were born, they counted you.
In order to know how many subscribers there are for a cell phone company, they count the subscribers. They count every person in the house with a phone as a subscriber. So you're enumerated many times. And that information, according to the Patriot Act, has to be given over and handed over to the United States government anyway. So even if you don't do anything and you try to get yourself off the grid, as long as you have a phone, as long as you have an account on email, you're enumerated. Sorry.
I'm going to channel my inner Gabrielle again. They're talking about being counted. Now, here's my deal. Can any person on this panel or any person in the chat go out in the streets in a foreign land and just count 50,000 people that belong to that particular city and say it's 50,000 people that live in this city or in this district? Can anyone do that? Like, just you're in a foreign land and you don't really know the terrain, you don't really know the boundaries of where you are. Can you go out and just physically count 50,000 people by yourself?
No, it's impossible.
So the question I have here is, with these friars and all of these priests and all of these so-called explorers that were coming over here, and they're telling you, hey, in this city, there were 50,000 Mayans. In this city, there were up to 100,000 Arawak. And then they say there were no books. But then we keep reading before that they burning all these books. And again, we know about the Alabama, the Uli, that said that the chiefs would come and pay tribute to the principal chief. Then not only were they paying tribute, the tribute was based upon the number of people. This is why I go back again. Brother Bones was touching on it. It determines your representation in Washington, D.C. Just like what the chiefs would do with the Uli and come to the principal chief, who was the Uli, who was the chief of chiefs, which is the commander in chief. Their tribute or their taxes was based upon the number of people in their particular tribe. Oh my goodness. Is that not a census? They can't expect you to come if you only have 50 people in your tribe. The Uli, the chief of chief, the commander in chief was not expecting you to come for the same group of people that had 10,000. Come on, son. Y'all better think about it. If you think a census was not taken, you have another thing coming. That's why I say again, do a little bit of traveling, find out what's going on. I yield the mic.
Don't all cities and towns tell you their population?
They have it on the sign as you coming in and as you're exiting.
Even a homeless population, you can look up. You can Google that for every city.
Sure can. They tell you that all day long. They tell you that. That's how they come up with these numbers for these opportunity zones, these tax increment reinvestment zones, the CDBG. When you come in and you're saying, okay, I want to build a shelter or a halfway house for those that, you can say a halfway house for those that are employed but have no permanent resident. So in order all you do is go to that database and it tells you how many people in that municipality is considered homeless. That's how you get your data. That's how you get your information. And for those that are thinking again off the grid, in order for you to go live on YouTube, you have to have an email address. That email address is going to tie you to an IP address. And if you have an iPhone, you have to put in some type of credit card or debit card information. Good goobly goo. But you're off the grid. I'm still trying to figure it out. Somebody please tell me how you do it. I yield the mic.
Can I share something?
Please.
So I just Googled. Yes, I Googled. I just Googled, and I screenshotted it because I've got to go into my account and unblock my cookies in order to share the links and stuff. So I do apologize, but I did put it in the back chat. I just Googled how many sovereign citizens are in the United States. Apparently, it's a tallied number of 300,000.
Uh-huh.
So doesn't that mean, and correct me if I'm wrong in my thinking, doesn't that mean that there's a type of enumeration or a tracking or a tally or um
Listen, I'm gonna make it simple. How do most people come into this information online? Everything you do online is tracked.
Or in jail.
Exactly.
or
The access to
somebody
this information. Think the portals on the two main portals of where you get the access and contact to this information are enumerated at the gate. So what are people talking about again?
The internet is on the government's backbone. So they know, even though they act like they don't know. They know more than they know more than they telling you they know.
And if those that haven't figured out yet, I double dog dare you to Google stuff and then think everything you can close your window and get rid of your cookies and open your phone again. And if there's not an ad running somewhere that pops up on your screen about something that you looked up, come on, son, keep falling for the okie doke if you want to. I put something in the back chat because this is where it's gonna get real interesting.
and
With
make
this
sure
push,
you bring your peoples with you.
with this pushback to Ghana, because some people probably like, where are they going with this? There's a method to my madness. I tell you, sometimes it's more madness than method. I put something in the back chat. I talked about it before. It's the connection to maize and the Mandi people, or you know them as Mandingo, Mandika, Mali, all the rest of these people in this region that everyone's talking about, they're from and their ancestors were from on these slave ships. Again, finding it very interesting that the people that are pushing that all the people came over about a millions on African slave ships are not producing these millions of ships because 2010, 2015 here at the max, they will still be coming over. Not dealing with the timelines. But here's the kicker. All of these places that they say that all these West Africans came from and how you ended up over here, don't bother to talk to these West Africans. So what I put in the back chat, and I know we're not gonna get through the whole thing, but this is just one snippet of a book on what really it's a book of references representing other anthropologists and agriculturalists and horticulturalists about the food, the crop that literally fed the whole world and is still feeding the whole world. So let's talk to some of these West Africans and their origin stories. Just gonna get real good. I yield the mic. Wait, before I yield the mic. Sister Gabby, I know you like to read, so I know you go to read it. Thank you.
Okay, give me. I'm pulling it up now.
I'm sharing my screen so people can actually see that they're watching YouTube.
He said, I know you have about 85 million windows open out there.
Yeah. Give me just a second.
While she's closing all her blinds there and putting down. Do you need me to go over and get you some new Venetian blinds? What's going on over there? Or you need me to just buy you some of those shutters?
No, I just need to learn to close.
You better not ever move to Florida with all those windows you got open, because you're going to have a tough time boarding up during hurricane season. But she's scrambling. This is just, like I say, it's about 30 pages, but it's just snippets of this particular book that is a collection of other authors. And I see that Brother David Corey said he went to school for horticulture. And see, that's what I said. I said and I said and I say it again. The most intelligent chat in the cosmos. See, you can't fool somebody that already knows what's going on, that knows the game. This is why I say again, you never hear. I don't care what side, I don't care what they call themselves, Indians, Hebrew Israelites, Pan-Africanists, RBG, whatever you want to call themselves, Moors, they never talk about horticulture and agriculture. They never discuss it. Because again, if I'm traveling, and this is what's going to put this myth, put all heads to bed, when it comes to this Bering Strait. Because Brother Bones had already broken it down that the Chinese were coming over here in ships. And the proof is they were bringing the material and the powder to make fireworks. That is why when you want to see a true show, 2 places on this globe where you're going to see true fireworks, you're going to see them in China, or what they call the Far East, and you're going to see them in Mexico, Mesoamerica. And I don't care, it could be whatever. It could be like, oh, the sun is shining, the birds singing, let's go. And they're going to have a parade. Why? Because the Chinese brought it over here. Then you're going to get in to find out how the Arabs use that powder to create their fire sticks and how they rule the world. And then how the Europeans use that same powder to make their firearms. It's the arms race. So now you're going to understand why I put it LIARS, Tyres, and the right to bear arms and chicken legs. Can you find it yet, Sister Gabrielle? What you doing over there? Oh, man, I think we lost her. But for those that are looking in the chat, but it's Maze and the Mandy myth. And they go on, and this, again, a myth is not a lie. It is a truth that is expounded upon so that people can remember and retain. The reason being is they didn't have anything written down, and that's already proven. And that's why I keep trying to explain to some knuckleheads when they try to say, oh, the West African civilization, because there are 5 pillars to a civilization based upon academia that they hate to use. And one is a written script. And they didn't have a written script. They were scrabbling in the sand. But the oral tradition tells you about the corn or the maize. The red corn came first. And I'm going to say it again, because then I'm going to put a link in the back chat here in a minute. And where it says that maize, or it as corn, is at least 10,000 years old. And you're going to find out that all of these so-called cradles of civilization all pay tribute to, chiseled in stone, you will find corn. Well, they're writing about corn.
The occurrence of the myth in groups now widely scattered in the Sudan suggests great antiquity, and where migration can be dated a time long before the discovery. Don't move. I'm reading the screen. Long before discovery of America is implied. This implication casts doubt on the traditional view that maize was introduced into Africa by the Portuguese after they had obtained it from the New World. This paper is a review of the evidence for the presence of maize in West Africa before the time of Columbus. It begins with the discussion of the Mandi myth and of the various tribal traditions that support its view as to the antiquity of maize in the region. Next, it presents as supporting evidence the various names for maize among West African people other than the Mandi and some inferences from botany of considerable antiquity for the West African form of maize. It goes on to examine the evidence from Portuguese sources for the introduction of maize into Portugal from Africa. Then it re-examines the argument that maize must have come with the Portuguese because the word for maize in certain tribes is also applied to Europeans and or resembles the word Portugal in sound, pointing out that such words were in fact being applied to white men from the East long before the arrival of Portuguese. Can you scroll up for me, please? Oh, wait. Okay. Here, the caravan route between the Senegal and the Nile is described in some aspects of the trade along the route discussed. Finally, a possible source for the pre-Columbian maize of West Africa is suggested, the Mandi myth. Mandi, according to Dieterlen, 1957, 132, is the traditional centra of the ancient Kita Empire, which was founded in the 13th century by Sadira Kita. The Kita Empire was called Mali by the Arabs, and numerous populations of the French Sudan and Upper Volta claim to be descended from a common stock located in Mandi. Further, the Bards, Groits, who have special knowledge of genealogies, assert that 30 lineages scattered widely in West Africa derive from Mandi and have a common origin. These lineages are believed to be represented not only among the single linguistic group of Mandingo, Maliki, Bambara, Dila, and Kansanki, but also among most of the population of Senegal, Sudan, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Togo, etc. The geographical axis of the organization.
Wait. I didn't mean to interrupt your flow. Can you go back and read those lands again? Read that again.
Okay, Kasaki, but also among the most of the population of Senegal, Sudan, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Togo, etc.
Wait, is that all the lands that your DNA test keep popping up on?
That's interesting.
Come on, son. Keep going. It's going to get real good. Keep going.
The geographical axis of the organization, which has just been outlined, is the upper part of the River Niger. Ooh, that's a movie. From its source to Lake, from its source to Lake Debo. Lake Debo, that's a character in a movie. Lake Debo is itself an extension of the Niger. Seligman, 1939-61, noted, the Mandingo, more correctly Mandi, constitutes one of the most important groups of French Senegal. That's interesting. They occupy most of the region between the Atlantic and the Upper Niger, as far south as about latitude 9 degrees north, and includes such large and important tribes as the Dula, Kasanka, Jalanka, Bambara, most cur- most cor- most correctly Banmana, Saniki, Malinki, and Ve. Timbuktu, with which the Mandi eventually become connected, is noted by Agilby, 1670-367. Speaking of the Mandinga kingdom, he wrote, the Arabian and other... Okay, hold on. The Arabian and other merchants drive a great trade here for gold, which they say this country abounds with, besides other commodities, which at Tombut, the chief city, there are admitted freely to barter for. Hold on. The Arabian and other merchants drive a great trade here for gold, which they say this country abounds with, besides other commodities, which at Tombut, the chief city, they are admitted freely to barter for. Okay, I'm gonna finish reading. The Mandi have a creation myth, still celebrated even 7 years with a ritual of which the recital of the myth is a part. Egestrom, 1961, in which the arrival of maize plays a prominent part. The myth describes the creation of two kinds of maize, or kaba, sagada, yule, the red maize which came first, and kaba satabe. Can you scroll down or across, please?
I gotta pull up another screen. Hold on.
Okay.
I apologize. I put it in the back chat. For those that are listening, we freestyling here, but it's something here on what's being said, because chematologists also use these words, but you will still find over here in the Americas where it mentions the Kaaba, the soul and the spirit.
Kabas.
This corn. You're gonna find out again what they can talk about. This is not somebody else's creation myth. This is the people of the land's creation myth. And they're going to tell you the creation myth and what it is. And they're saying every 7 years. Kind of sounds like the forgiveness of credit, doesn't it? Isn't it the same kind of system? And it's the same system that the Mayas, or what we would call the pre-Maya, which gets back to the Olmec or the Uli, we're using this same system of 7.
Oh, no.
Because every 7 years, you change mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
Yes, every 7 years, your body actually goes through a change. You go through a physical change every 7 years.
You become a new person. Somebody's going to follow me here in a minute. Again, if you'd like to join the panel, all you have to do is email me at allendoodlebrown@gmail.com. That's for the friends, the foes, the enemies, and the frenemies. Please, come on down. I yield the mic. Read.
Okay, maize that arrived later. It traces the eastward migration of people cultivating maize down the Niger from what is now Kangaba, which, according to Dieterlen, 1957-124, the inhabitants call Kaba. The Aka on Lake Debo in Gestrom points out that according to Dieterlen, The Groits of various people are in agreement on certain details of the myth. Among them, the facts that a Mandi village is called Kaaba, maize, and has as its centra a field of maize, that the word Kaaba refers to the appearance upon the earth of the mythical creator. Pharaoh and the third of the five generations who moved from Mandi lives in places where maize was sown. In Gestrom, assuming that maize reached the Mandi by way of the Portuguese about AD 1520, has difficulty in reconciling this date with this agreement on the myth's essential details in lineage that had been settled in widely separated regions of the Sudan long before the 16th century. The dispersions of the Mandi people cannot yet be accurately dated, but many perhaps be associated with one or another of the known upheavals in the region. Gamble, 1957-16 notes, for instance. Jor regards the establishments of the Wolof Empire as relatively late and associated with upheavals and movements in population in the Senegal region as a result of the fall of the Empire of Ghana under the blows of the Almoravids, and then of the Sudanic conquerors. Sanaguru Kanti, and Sanhate Kiti, Sandita Kita, about 1240. Shah, 1905, 126, described the conquest of Timbuktu by the Malian AD. Hold on. Okay, let me finish. By the Malian AD 1330, and later burning of the city by the Masi, who lived to the east of it. In the absence of the better evidence as to the movements of the Mandi peoples, the traditions as to the migrations of the Tishi speaking Akan of the Gold Coast provide some chronologically. Balmer, 1925-27, held that it is very probable that the Akan people in general, together with the Fanti, Ashanti, and Ahanta, formed part of the ancient kingdom of Ghana. He based his conclusion on the similarities in the tribal names and a tradition among the coast people of a powerful sorry, I apologize. Lineage of a powerful and influential city called Walata. There is also the record, according to Balmer, that when Europeans first came to the Ghana coast for trade, they asked the natives which was the chief power in the land, and were told to apply to the people who then ruled the old city of Awalatin or Walata. According to Meyritz, 1957-85, two lineages of the Akan claim to have come from Walata. She has also recorded a claim for a migration from Dia, which lies between Walata and Timbuktu. The Kasawak Wura tribal historian Iwatoma, speaking at a meeting in 1946 at Damungo, presided over by the Yabern Wura King Iwutoma of Ganja, said that Bona Akan, Ganja, and Guan all came originally from Dija or Nia, a state of which the capital is believed to have been situated in the Timbuktu region of the Niger. Mani, 1954. Okay. Mani, 1954, also notes the Akan tradition of ancient intercourse with Dia and pointed out it may not be the dynasty of the Songhay named Dia, but the city of Dia, Messina. Her further, or he further notes that the people of Dia are said to have founded the famous city of Dijon, commercial commercial emporium of the products of the South. Can you scroll back up for me, please?
Scroll back up. You see it?
Yeah, thank you. South and the North. It was founded in Adomina 1250, and that the name Dijin means little Dia. The Kasawale, Wuro held that the original name of one of the clans that migrated was Agua, and and that the first group that entered the northern territories of the Gold Coast was the ancient rulers of Memprusi. The second, the Bono, and the third, the Bono and the Myrids. 1960-23 explains, in the past, the greatest and most important Akan kingdom in the territory, which is now called Ghana, was Bono. In modern times, it is Ashanti. Bono was founded about 1225 and became powerful owing to its wealth in gold. 1225. Meyerowitz, 1957-84, has also noted. Oh, that's the timelines.
Timelines, man. Timelines.
They have gaps in the timelines, but they're still overlapping. Okay. Okay. Meyerowitz, 1957-84, has also noted that the Bono Kingdom of the Ivory Coast appears to have been founded by an Akan migration about Anno Domini 1000. Yeah, 1000. Some causes for the migration are still remembered. Thus, the Kasawole Wara gave as the reason for the Akan migration from Dia the fact that the Muslim drove the Akan away. Certainly, just before 1295, before 1295, there had been a civil war. There had been a civil war in the kingdom of Mali in which Dia was involved, and the rule of a usurper. Sakura is noted by Delafosse, 1931-62. Knowledge of other migrations is still current in many tribal histories. It appears that a little before Anno Domini 1300, there was a large exodus of people eastward along the Niger and southward into the area of the Gold Coast. The Akan had certainly reached the coast by the time of the first European visit, about 1415. Judging from Kimball's translation in Tyres, 1937, 120, Esmeraldo de Situ Orbis compiled before 1509. Piera's writings report the presence at the site of the present Elmina of Haqqani's Jeffries, 1953. Not sure what that letter means. According to Meyerowitz, Personal Communication, 24th of April, 1955, the Akan claimed that they brought maize. The Akan claimed that they brought maize with them from Djinn on the southward migration. She further stated that. Whoa. Okay. She further stated that the maize was brought by Aguana. See, even okay, Aguana lineage, whose royal Ayoko group was, according to Meyerowitz, 1951-32, one of the 7 clans that founded the Bono Kingdom about Anno Domini 1295. The antiquity of maize is vouched for by its connection with the 12 families from whom all the Tishi-speaking tribes are traditionally described. Ellis, 1966, 341 through 41. The names of these families are words of the northern dialect, but they are still retained by the southern tribes, although they have, in several cases, a different word now in use for the animal or object for which the family designation is derived. Thus, the cornstalk family is still called a abrutufo by the southern tribes, although their more common name is Abruha Nun. Bowditch, 1819, 231, writing of the Ashanti of the Gold Coast, said he had said he had I apologize. Said he had taken some pains to said he'd take some pains to acquire the etymology of these names, but with imperfect success. Abrutu signifies a cornstalk, and abradi a plantain. Claridge, 1915, 8, discussing the common origin of the Fanti and Ashanti, noted the existence among them of definite families. It is certain that some of them are of much greater antiquity than others. The principal families are Abratsi, plantain, Abrutu, cornstalk. These are generally acknowledged to be the oldest.
Okay, stop. No, that was a lot of reading before we go to the next one, because I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that Sister Gabrielle Union and others probably have questions, because more than likely, no one has ever heard this information before. Exclusive. Oh, but no, still out. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Oh man, I thought he had something. So what they're saying is they're going back and they're saying, wait a minute, these were brought by, right, the Muslims. These were brought by the Arabs. And then they go back and say, wait a minute, it's older than that. Because now all of their research, as you keep researching, you kind of find out, wait a minute, this is older. This is older. This is older. This was before the Muslim invasions. And the Djinn. And the Djinn is where you get the Jinn or the genies, which gets back to here of the Guinea. Your goal goes. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You said gin, and that was one of my questions. Gin, agua, water, all that.
And agua means the same thing. For those talking about, Igbo, agua means clear. And what is water? What color is color? Does water have a color?
Yeah, it's clear.
Oh, good gobbledygook. Oh no. And they're telling you that maize, corn, and plantain was already there before the Arabs came and kicked them out before they pushed them out. So now you're talking about the people that were there before this Iberian or Ottoman Empire people came in. Before. Oh man. And we know that plantain or plantain comes from two major places. One, Malaysia, and it also comes from the Americas. And it's telling you those are the oldest two. So we know without a shadow of a doubt, corn came from here. And they're telling you this is their creation story. And you heard all of these so-called lands that they're calling regions and countries today in West Africa that you just read, all that they say that we're from, all of these places that they say that we are from, they're saying it came here. This is why you will find the languages, some words that are similar. So for those, oh, they were African. What was the origin of the words? Oh, it's Igbo. Oh, these came from the Akan. They're telling you that, again, the food, the crop that fed the whole world, the manna from heaven that fed the whole world came from the Americas. So did the people that came and brought the corn, did they just drop it off and throw it off the coast and leave? Of course not. They interacted and intermingled with the people that were there. So if you don't have a word for something that you've never seen before, you're going to go with the word that the people that brought it to you, right or wrong.
You're absolutely correct.
Mama named him Clay, I'm going to call him Clay. And they're telling you. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. Go. Your question is going to come into play. Go ahead.
It's not really a question. It's just something that I've learned from growing herbs and different vegetables or whatnot, ordering seeds and getting seeds from different states. Where I'm at, so I have to be careful with what I have to pay attention to what I'm growing because of where I'm at. It's different from the climate. So if I order something from California or if I order something from, I don't know, Louisiana, my climate, the soil here and everything's different. So I have to have had to get a miniature greenhouse to create certain temperatures and use different soils to make it grow. If they brung that here, would it just automatically grow in a different environment?
No, there has to be some type of manipulation of the soil for things to grow. You just can't take a plant or any type of crop and just say, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to put it into a foreign soil." It doesn't work like that at all. And like I said, we have some horticulturalists in the chat. Brother David Coy, man, I wish he'd come on board, but I know he's getting over the flu because I asked about you the other day too. I swear I hadn't seen you in a while. I'm glad that you're feeling better. But and I know he's more versed in this area than I am, so I'm sure he can answer that. But I know from the limited time that I've been out there dealing with crops and what my grandmother and my mother taught me, my great grandmother, you can't just decide, hey, I'm gonna stick this crop or stick these herbs here or this plant in this particular soil, and then I'm gonna uproot it and I'm gonna put it in another soil. It will die because it's foreign.
Oh yes, I've learned. That's just a personal experience.
You telling me you got a brown thumb? What's going on here?
Oh no! I got a green thumb.
Okay.
Plant could be dying. It's coming back with my hands. It's coming back. But I had to learn that things grow in certain areas better because of the climate, and so you have to adjust. You have to do a lot of adjusting with not just soil. You have to do adjusting with. You have to make changes with air. Certain plants you'll actually have to move because depending on how the sun beats down in a certain area, you have to move those plants, those herbs, those vegetables, so that it Just a personal experience. Just a personal experience.
Yep, there is, and that's what. Let's go back to what I was saying before about dealing with maize or corn because it is a man manipulated crop. You learn things by trial and error. They just didn't come overnight and be like, bam, we got this, crop. We have this food that can feed everybody. That's why I say again, you hear about famines in all other lands but the Americas. You don't hear about famines. The Dust Bowl and all that stuff didn't happen until Europeans that knew nothing about the soil took over the land. You don't hear about famines. Africa had famines. West Africa, South Africa, all of Kemet. We know about the famines that were going on. All throughout Samaria, China, definitely in Europe. We know they've been starving to death. So why don't you hear about famines all throughout the islands, the Caribbean, all throughout the mainlands of North, Central, and South America? Why? If anybody in the chat have any questions or comments, suggestions, please. I know there are more listening than those that are in the chat. So if you just want to come on and remain anonymous, you can remain anonymous too. If you have any questions, just putting it out there so people will know that finally writers are catching up with the elders and wise ones have been saying. And you're going to find a connection with these Mandi. These Mandi are your Mani that came from the Americas. How did they get over there? Thank you, Itza. I yield the mic.
So I'm reading again.
Read. I think this will be the last page for tonight. Read.
Okay. The antiquity of maize among these people is also indicated by its connection with the Akan religion. Rache, 1923-47, noted that maize may not be eaten upon that day of the week sacred to the god. Basamoro is also, according to Ratre, the name of one of the most important Notoro. Examus patrinelli. Patrilineal. See? Say stuff all the time and don't see. Okay. Lineage. The Notore of 8 Ashanti kings and the first Notoro ever given to man. The connection of maize names with clan names and other details that have been cited all suggest that the Akan of Walata, Dia, and Bajin got maize from these regions adjacent to their ancient neighbors, the Mandi, controllers of the Timbuktu, before they migrated about 1295. The traditions of other peoples of the region also tend to support the Mandi myth as to the antiquity of the maize. The Ga of the Gold Coast and Atanchanis people, among whom the Akan settled after migrating south from the Niger region, have a tradition narrated by Burton, 1865-160, indicating that they were familiar with maize before the Portuguese arrived. The Ga held that the name Belefo, from Abel, maize, was given to the European because when the first strangers came to the coast, the women were grinding and said that these men are as white as corn. These first strangers were the Portuguese who reached the Gold Coast about 1470. I don't know what GA means.
So wait. It's saying that when the Portuguese came, that the women were already grinding the corn.
Right.
The Portuguese didn't bring corn. See, they keep saying, "Oh, Christopher Columbus," which we finding out we know it's not true. Christopher Columbus brought all these fruits and vegetables back from the Americas over to Europe and Africa and Asia and all these other places. You're finding out, wait a minute, hold up, stop, wait a minute, pause. This stuff was already here. Go ahead.
Right.
I'm sorry. Continue.
No. You're right, because this is 1470. This is before 1492.
Uh-oh.
God, popular thought saw. Okay, I didn't read that right. God, popular thought saw no anomaly in giving these strangers a name derived from God, name for maize. And indeed, the God do not connect the arrival of maize with the arrival of the Portuguese. That's pretty solid and straight to the point. Can you scroll down for me, please?
It's finna get good.
All right, you see it?
Yes. Okay. A Yoruba tradition about maize was recorded by Bowen, 1857-47. Interesting. Okay. Indian corn is common throughout tropical Africa, where it probably existed long before the discovery of America. The Yoruba have a tradition disfigured by superstition that it came from the East.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Go ahead. Keep going. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I got a question real quick. Why are they calling it Indian corn?
Because that's what they call it there. They call it Indian corn.
So in Africa, do they call the people in Africa Indian?
No. They call that corn Indian corn. And we started to find out that the Mandi were the ones growing the corn in that region, which is going to tie you back. Oh, I can't wait till a couple of weeks from now, which is going to tie you back to the Mani of Mesoamerica. Go ahead. On ships. Agua. Go ahead.
Indian corn is common throughout tropical Africa, where it probably existed long before the discovery of America. The Yoruba have a tradition disfigured by superstition that it came from the East. Elsewhere, Bowen, 1858, TMH, you're going to have to XII, recorded Indian corn
12.
is said, that's 12? Okay. So 1858, 12, recorded. Indian corn is said to have been brought from beyond the Niger by a yellow monkey. Okay. Indian corn is said to have been brought from beyond the Niger by a yellow monkey. It may not be irrelevant to remark that the natives sometimes call foreigners monkeys by way of, is that derision? By derision. What is the word derision? Okay. I need to find out what the word derision is. Give me a second, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was clicking it. And what it means by mockery. It's like you making fun.
Oh, so that the natives sometimes called foreigners monkeys by way of mockery? Okay, thank you. Burton, 1863, 321, who was,
We'll address it when we get finished. I know exactly what you're talking about, I think.
Wait, I'm sorry.
We'll come back to it.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I apologize. My bad. I forgot. I didn't think out loud. Okay. Focus. Okay, I'm focused. Burton, 1863, 321, who was consul in the Bites of Biafra, also recorded the Yoruba tradition that maize was brought to them from the eastwards beyond the Niger by a yellow monkey. The Oba, or white man, according to the boys, is the old baboon, which tends to show that it is not native of the land. Hold on. From the eastward beyond the Niger by a yellow monkey, which that's making a mockery of a foreigner. The Oba, or white man, according to the boys, is the old baboon, which tends to show that it is not native to the land. Okay. Today, Oba means European. Okay. So if I read that again, from the eastward beyond the Niger by a yellow monkey, the European, or white man, according to the boys, is the old baboon, which tends to show that, okay, is not native to the land. Today, Oba means European, but the only yellow foreigners connected with the Niger would be Arabs. More important, however, okay, I got to get through this. Hold on, I got to focus. Hold on, okay. More important, however, it is the mention of maize in a lyric praising the Yoruba creator god Olandamar.
Oladumare. Yeah. Wait a
Okay.
minute. Hold on. Wait.
Olandamar. Hold on. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say put a comma there. It's for all these people. So now we getting back to all of these cultures, all these traditions, and all of these other gods and deities from West Africa. Are they paying tribute to the corn? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just want to throw that in there. Go ahead.
Olandamare. Idaho, 1962, 50 through 51, explains. In Yoruba, theology, no, theology, Alandumare has always been placed first and far above the divinities and all else. He is over all. In the following lyric, he is being sung as one whose authority is asserted once and for all on earth. On account of one emu, brown rat. Emu is brown. Okay. On account of one brown rat, rain ceases and falls no more. Yams sprout but do not develop. The ears of corn fill but do not ripen. Scroll up for me, please. The ears of corn fill but do not ripen. Yeah. Can you scroll up for me, please?
Yeah, scroll up.
Okay, then it's just me. I do apologize. Okay. In the Yoruba original, which is also given in Idaho, the last line reads Agbudo Tapiku Ubu Agbadu is the unusual Yoruba word for maize. Why? Okay. Though it is here translated as corn. The ethnic composition of the Yoruba is by no means simple. Ford, 1951-2, notes that Fadipe, himself a Yoruba, divided his people into two main groups. The I don't want to botch this up. I feel like I am. Ife, Ijisha, Ikiti, who consider themselves descendants of the Aboriginal inhabitants of the Ile Ifi, but who doubtless include many assertions occurring at various times, and the Oyo Yoruba, in which he includes the Egba, held to be descendants of later immigrants from the East. So, pause, focus. It is therefore convenient to consider the Ili Ifi and the Egba traditions separately. Okay. Um, I got some questions. Okay. Several Yoruba traditions suggest that the tribe originated in the East, either in Egypt or in Mecca. With these traditions, I am not concerned. Okay. A Yoruba migration is suggested, however, in connection with the unrest in the Timbuktu region that scattered in Tishi lineages and sent them to the Gold Coast. As discussed above, Palmer, 1928, Volume 3, 34, considered it very probable that the tribal name Yoruba is not, as was thought, connected to Yori on the Niger opposite Busa, but with Yawuru, the chief town of the Songhay, on the shores of Lake Debo, formerly a centra of these so-called Surk or Suka people. Surk or Suka peoples, some of whom would appear to have migrated first to Mashi, whence comes which comes the Moriba of the Yoruba mythology, and thence to Ifi in the presence of Yoruba land. Palmer held that this supposition would explain the name of Yoruba ancestors, Lamarudu, as being composed of Taweg, alias man, and Tamish Imgog, a class term. Okay. Palmer, 1928, volume 387, noted the objections to the theory that the Apa people, who formed part of the Kisra migration from the east, creating the large Kororofa empire, which disintegrated to form the Nupe, Ida, interesting, Ida, Wukori, and other kingdoms, had a direct share in genesis of Ife and concluded that, can you scroll up for me? The most reasonable hypothesis concerning Ife as centra of the world as early as the 1000 Anno Domini is that it was an offshoot of colony offshoot or colony of either Ghana or ancient Kukia, that is, the influence of Ghana, Kukia, or both, extended down the Niger through Ilo, Busa, and Yuri to Oyo and Ife. See also Jeffries, 1958. Such contacts existed by the way of the Niger between the northern region and the town of Ile Ife in the 18th. Is this their 18th century or our 18th century?
By our 18th century, by the authors that are putting this in.
Okay, so our 18th century would have meant 1700s. Okay.
Right.
Correct.
18th century, and were by no means new then. Jeffries, 1955. So written in 1950. Okay. Written in 1955. See also Jeffries, 1958. So 1700 to 200 years later. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. The facial markings of the Yoruba tribal lineages have been examined by the Yoruba historians Johnson, 1921, still 200 years later, 107, who in his diagrams referred to one group with 3 vertical lines as being characteristics of the Mandi and of the Jambadi Yoruba families. The word Jambadi is similar to the word Bambari, a name for a Mandi tribal group. Johnson noted that these particular facial markings were no longer in use because they were said to be distinctive of distinctive of aliens naturalized amongst the Yoruba. Mandi immigrants would fall into such a group. I got one more page in me.
You don't have any questions on this page first before we go on? Before I drop it?
Oh, okay, so, all right. So I find it very interesting that emu means, or emu means brown. Okay. I also find it very interesting that as a mockery, okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to the mockery. Okay, Indian corn. Okay, they're calling it Indian corn. Why would, if no one in Africa is called an Indian, why would they be calling it Indian corn?
Because of the people that brought it, the Mandi. And that's why they would have those markings. And if you look at those markings, those are the same markings that you will find amongst the Yamasee and those that they call the later on known as the Seminoles, and those that they found, well, I don't say that they found, those that they stumbled upon, the Europeans stumbled upon amongst the Atlantic coast.
Well, let me ask you this. Does this has everything to do with culture and not race, right?
Exactly. It was to distinguish the Mandi from the rest of the people in the land. That's why I said that the Yoruba ruler separated them and was saying those that were immigrants that came later and then those that were there, because they looked the same, but they were not the same.
Right. So then two, the mockery, what was that word? Way of derision. Remark, natives sometimes called foreigners monkeys by way of derision. My mockery. So why? I am curious to find out how this reference, and I believe this is saying 1858. So this reference between 1858 and 1863 of the foreign monkey, calling the foreign monkey also a yellow monkey, but Oibo, which also means or white man. I don't even know how to ask this question properly.
They took that term because it came from the same place. Yellow monkey was like a term of endearment. It was not meant as an insult. It was just to distinguish that you were a foreigner. Now, again, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go back again because this is, as I say, let me do this. Let me back up. Because there's some terminology that you're gonna find in there that also connects you back to Kukulkan. And you read it several times. I don't want to stop because you were fluent. You're going to see how these, like I said, you get back to the cultures of these clans and these people and what were they calling themselves and what were the terms that they were using to describe other people in the region. So if people are coming down, as we've stated before, that there were people that looked like us that were coming from Europe. So everyone coming from that region was now later, even if they came and they were white later on, so this was later on when they were like, oh, they're as white as corn. But prior to that, they were talking about the Arabs. The Arabs still get you back to the Ottoman Empire. It still gets back, the Arabs still gets you back to Samaria.
You know, who were the Ottomans dealing with trade? These so-called people later on that you would call Moors.
Bingo. And that's why they said they ran them out of these regions. So who were these people again? Now you got to go back, like I said, even dealing with Swarthy Pete. What was the connection with Swarthy Pete and these merchants, the 7 merchants, the 7 dwarves? Go back, and it tells you the origin of the Swarthy people was an American Indian or American Indian women. People want to talk about, we don't talk about science. Go ahead, Brother Bones.
You see how historians and writers, they're very slick when they write things. And if you're really not paying attention, you'll miss it. In context here, they're Arabs. But any other time in history, when we read, it's the Ottoman Empire. But you notice they give them another name to try to switch so you don't put the connection together. That there's somebody in between these Africans and this corn that came from America that was already dealing with trade here with us. We was dealing with them already. But for the point of this story, the Arabs.
See, it's the old bait and switch. As long as you keep thinking and you keep thinking and thinking and thinking, because when you have in your mind European as being classified as white, and not looking at these Swarthies, because we've already read before that these Swarthies were coming down from the Nordic region into Europe and went all into Africa, deep into Africa. Who were these people? Where were they coming from? It still gets back to dealing with the connection of being from the Americas. Because how could these foreign people come from the America, right? Go to the Americas, discover that corn is edible and that it could travel. See, that's what people don't factor in. What if all these people were doing all this traveling, what were they eating? Well, because it was no canned goods back in the day. So what were they eating? What would last the test of time? Corn. Come on, son. Somebody's gonna be. Well, I think we lose both the Thomas. To
the fire.
No, I'm just trying to get some of the stuff off my computer so I can finish so y'all can read. So, wait a second.
Oh, that was going to be it, but Sister Gabrielle Union will say, "Keep going."
I was just saying, I had more. You know what? Okay, I can wait. I'll wait. It's okay. It's okay. Another page. I'll be back in the morning.
See, that's why I didn't send you the pages in advance, because I knew you were going to read ahead and you were going to want to keep going. See, I told you there's a method to my madness.
You don't know me like that. You don't know me. Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I would have. And then some.
Then
find the connection. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Another main point that they point out that people probably would glance over, they are telling you that it didn't come from there. They are telling you somebody bought it there.
Through the whole thing. Consistently.
History states it comes from where? The Americas.
Mm-hmm.
That it was cultivated in the Americas. So
yep.
the crop was cultivated in the Americas. Their story tells you, their own story from their own mouth tells you somebody bought it there. What's the discussion again?
And it
Going
tells you
back
that
all
the
the way to
Mondis are foreigners. So when they keep saying, oh, the Mendigos, I'm Mendigo, I'm Mandingo, it goes back to the Monis. And the Monis will tell you another name for Monis, or Manis, or Mondis, or Malinka, or Mali, goes back to the Tutu Ziu, or the Tutu Zhu, and the Itza. Go back and listen to the previous show that we did a couple of weeks ago, or whenever it was. I don't remember. Like I said, I'm starting being more consistent. But no sell. I don't know what day it is. What day is this? Friday again?
Well, the name
so
just now.
okay.
What was the other name for corn? Kaba. Taba. Hey.
Yep. Hey, I had a thought. Maybe it's a question. So technically, the American Indian colonized parts of Africa first.
I will break it down like this. You mentioned one of the peoples in the land was called Vai. Vai is what the people are misnomered as, because they were a band of, we thought the band of different clans that came together to form this artificial Cherokee nation. Vai is still spoken there today. And they tried to lie and say that it was brought over in the 1800s. How are two people, it says two people, two Indians, they said, went to West Africa and taught all the people Vai and came up with a written script for Vai. That's nonsense. How two people going to teach everybody in that region? They were already there. And you just read it. Vai was already there in the region. These are the people that are there. That's why the people keep saying, I don't know anything about these slave ships. What do they keep talking about slavery? What do they keep talking? They can tell you about that corn. They can tell you that corn didn't come from there. They can tell you that corn came from a foreign land, and they can tell you it's dealing with the Mandi or the Mandinka. You talking about, Willis? I yield the mic. I put the email in the chat. I guess no one that's not chatting in the chat, but just listening. I know you're out there.
Chat.
They're gonna wait about a month or two, and then they're gonna drop something like, oh man, this is fresh and new. Man, nobody's ever heard this before. I'm just gonna drop this link to this live stream in their chat. And I know I'll be booted shortly after that.
Chat, don't talk back.
So when the folk keep talking about, oh man, and this and that, and Papa Legba, will they get back to them same folk that we just read about today? Ipa, I'm Yoruba. What are you talking about? You're talking about Papa Legba. Again, that corn cob pipe, that cigar that he's got tobacco in. And last time I check, if I go anywhere, where I go 85, 95, north to south, go up to the Carolinas and to Virginia, what am I going to find? What do they call it? Tobacco rub. I don't even got to say anymore. It is crossover, slam dunk, game over. You just been posterized like Vince Carter did that foreign dude in the Olympics. It's done.
Slow it down.
And in the words of the NFL, you've just been moused. So come on, son. The gig is up. So for those that keep talking about, oh, this and that, and I want to pull this and I want to pull that, we are hearing the people that have spent time with the people in that land, in that region, and they are telling you their origin stories. They are telling you their origin stories, but they go that far back, but they're not saying anything about millions of their people being taken away by slave ships. Have we read that? But we're reading about the corn. I yield the mic.
I got a question.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Does origin come from the word original?
Or the reverse, yes. Origin is the base word of original, yes.
Okay. So when you're hearing original stories or origin stories, how they come from each other, that means they're stories that are before current stories, right?
That is correct.
So being that we just read origin stories, so to speak, or original stories, so to speak, whichever one, that means they like predate other stories about the
That is
front
correct.
where. Oh, okay. Just want to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
And for the people say that the book, the collection of sources in this book that is CDL, it comes from Cambridge. I thought I'd throw that out there. But of course, all throughout Sister Gabrielle Union's reading, she's giving you the sources on where to find sources. A book of sources about sources. So I'll let y'all figure that out. Don't ask me to say that again. I yield the mic.
I still trying to figure out what it is that people can't figure out or still debating about. The same people that want to use scientific data and this information to try to tell you that you're African and everybody come from Africa. The same universities are the same ones that tell you my AIDS started in the Americas.
Well, here's the thing, and this is just me, and here's the thing that I've always asked and always wondered. This is the thing I got in trouble for asking. You mean to tell me that a whole landmass, North, South, and Central America, what is considered America, you mean to tell me that that whole landmass was completely empty until the migration and the forced shipment of slaves all from Africa? What happened?
Somebody came up with a good story.
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of people in the Americas. So is like Africa half empty now?
That's what I want to know, because 20 million people, that's a lot of people that no one's writing about. Like I said, you hear a couple of leaders now that are apologizing, like the leaders in Ghana. We apologize for selling you guys, and it's all a part of the trick.
Hey, listen, that's the tourist minister that apology. You know,
Minister of Tourism, yes.
Tourism. No, you don't got no political pull.
Yeah, because we want your money. We want your currency. Come spend over here. And you got folks falling for the okie doke.
Oh.
So now you're going to have to explain why your Olodumare, your God of gods, your King of kings, your Lord of lords, they're singing songs of praises, and he's talking about corn.
Well, can I share something?
Sure.
Now, as I was reading, I was saying Anno Domini. The letters AD abbreviated mean Anno Domini. Anno Domini means the year of our Lord. Now, thanks to the Da Vinci Code, the book, and the movie, I looked up Anno Domini and its meaning and where it comes from and why it meant the year of our Lord, which means the year of our Lord references to the whole thing with what is it? I just had a brain fart. The Council of Nicaea and all that. And I'm not saying it's all that to be dismissive, but derives from that, which is the establishment of this is when we recognize the year of our Lord. This is when it starts. So if it's before Anno Domini, it's before they established the year of our Lord. If it's AD Anno Domini, it's once they established that timeline, that Gregorian calendar, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. And didn't it say 1000, which didn't have Anno Domini next to it?
It wouldn't be AD in these cases. See, when they're putting the dates, that's when the author's written about it. But this is going back to the beginning times and the creation stories of these people.
Right. Which means long before anything that we've been told now. Right or wrong?
Simple. You can use any collection of books. You can pick out the Bible, anything that's talking about corn. If it's talking about corn 1,000,000 years ago, guess what? That means corn was in the Americas 1,000,001 years ago.
Oh, there's a story.
It came from America first. So it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? If it's in these people creation story, it's in their myth and you know where it comes from. I mean, what was first?
That's why I said you're not going to find any pictures of your dad. He was a boy drawing or taking pictures of you because you wasn't there. But yet you go all over the world and you see them paying tribute to corn. These deities holding corn. These deities holding pine cone.
And they
we ain't got the good part yet.
They tell you somebody bought it to them. It came from a foreigner. What other foreign place could it come from?
Because the Europeans claim they didn't know about it till 1492. Somebody's lying. Just think about it. And it goes all the way through where they talk about before you couldn't eat the corn on the sacred days and the sacrifice of the corn deity. You'll find that same myth in the Americas where corn originated. See, I love that word you said before about origin. The start. So they're already telling you. They're telling you in their story, their life source was based upon corn. Come on, son. This is the stuff, like I said before, I don't know everything, but I know what the elders were telling me, and that's how I started doing my research. Do you start to find out that there were people, and you're looking at the dates that are on there. So the dates are telling you these authors, right? These European, because you see all these German names, all these different names, were writing about this in the 1800s. And in the and then it talks about again what it said in the 17th century. Why aren't these so-called Pan-Africanist scholars bringing up this material? They're regurgitating the same thing. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
I had a thought. I read a couple of days ago. Nope, specifically last week, a couple of days ago, that Europeans, so to speak, French and all that, couldn't get to Africa until around 1878, 1880.
1880, yes.
There it is, 1880. Now, my question is this: with reading that they couldn't get to Africa, so to speak, the coast. They couldn't get to Africa until 1880. Didn't I just read that this was written in like 1825, 1858?
They couldn't get past the coast. It was in North Africa. So they couldn't get to the places that, Zaire, that they came to the Congo. They couldn't get to all these places until after 1880. But North Africa, the Iberian Peninsula, they were already there. Spain is only 9 miles away. You can
Exactly.
walk to Spain from Africa. That's how
I'm about
close
to
they are.
say 9 miles. That's like a 5-minute drive, right? 5-10 minute drive.
No, I actually know somebody who on a trip as a youngster, they walked across the land bridge from Spain to Africa. And they said that was the only time I've ever been to Africa.
That's
Oh,
You
only
can actually walk. Yeah, you can walk.
See, this is the stuff they're not telling you.
what divides Africa and Spain? Nothing. You can walk from Africa to China. Literally walk. Are we going to forget the story? See, people want to be so proud and forget this stuff. The story of Hannibal taking elephants over the Alps. What, they flew?
Exactly.
Come
They
on.
wasn't putting elephants on ships, I'll tell you that.
They took a bunch of Dumbos.
See, on one hand, they'll talk about it, but then on the other hand, it's like, oh, it's impossible. It couldn't happen. What do you mean? These people telling you it happened.
And these are the same folk that gonna tell you the Bering Strait. So people can walk all the way across on solid ice, thick ice. You tell them you can't. Come on, son. Oh, we need. Don't do this, Sister Gabrielle Union, because you're gonna be up for 4 nights straight. We ain't even talked about. We ain't even talked about those water carrying camels yet, because camels originate in the Americas.
Okay.
Yeah, baby.
So there's this zoo in California, right? I don't even remember the name of it. I went to it when I was younger. There's this zoo in California, and it has all these different animals there, right? And at this zoo, they told me that all these animals were native to America, which included camels, which I thought was very odd because in elementary school, camels were all supposed to be from another landmass. You just reminded me of that. I do apologize.
But they did that on purpose. So you tend to look every place outside of your home. Because if you know the camel came from here, what is that telling you? If they was riding camels back in biblical times, that means before biblical times, there was a connection with the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, snap.
See, that's why they don't want to tell you certain things, because then it puts the Americas ahead of all stories. Because how can you have a story or animal or a crop that originated from here on your landmass? You couldn't have come before the Americas and had this thing that originated in the Americas on your landmass, unless you got that DeLorean.
Where's Doc? I put the email in the chat several times for the frenemies. Y'all come on down. Come on
Make sure
down.
you bring peoples with you.
How long we had a number on top of the screen and ain't nobody called yet? Yeah.
Make sure you bring your peoples with you.
Well, you know what the story is that they're being blocked, which is funny because our number you could dial in from a regular phone. You could dial in from a house phone. We can't block a phone.
What about a rotary phone?
Listen, we don't have people call in during the replay.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what they're talking about blocking.
Yeah, they said they're blocked. No, I haven't blocked anybody.
Oh, that's amazing.
That number's the number that you can dial in. And we gave you the dial in for a specific reason so you couldn't be blocked. But, it is what it is.
So what they can do is just three-way somebody and have somebody to call in since they say they block. So couldn't the person that calls in on three-way and they just be on the line together?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I've yet to block somebody. I haven't even blocked somebody's phone number that's really called.
I had to retire my boots.
Yeah, we haven't been able to kick anybody out because nobody come on.
Talk, lock, and dropping it.
Yeah, we don't ask for the IP address.
Has someone ever gotten spyware or spam from calling in to the number?
No.
I've been
Okay,
doing
I'm just
it
checking.
Verizon for what, 9 months straight? I probably want to say 6 months. Yeah, everything good.
Maybe we just don't play fair. I don't know. Maybe because we play by the rules. I don't know. But I'm just trying to figure it out. I know somebody somewhere between now and Monday rising, someone's gonna go live and they're gonna throw little jabs and they're gonna say little stuff. But again, I'm trying to figure out because again, I double dog dare anybody to look up West African ships. You're not going to find him. So, but the people that are in West Africa, when they tell you their origin story, they tell you that foreigners brought corn over, even so much so that they're, again, God of gods, the most high deity, Olodumare, has songs of praise and is talking about corn. You cannot get past that. That if your creator is giving praise to corn, again, the words of Brother Bone, I want to know again, which came first, chicken or the egg?
Yeah,
The
no.
African or the American?
You know what you just made me think about?
Hands down, the American had to be first. I'm not saying that as a position of being better, but that's common sense. If these, one last time, if these people creation story, their origin story has Indian corn in it, what more can somebody tell you? There's nothing else somebody can tell you. It's these people own story they calling it Indian corn. To this day, it's called Indian corn over there still. And everybody over there, not just one clan, you read what 3 different tribes is telling you it was given to them by a foreigner.
All of the lands that they say you were kidnapped from. Maybe because they saw corn there and the same corn. Oh, Sister Gabby, I got to give you this. This is going to get me in trouble. I know it is, but we're going to shut it down after I say this because we're going to give our salutations. What they don't tell you is that corn brings about mosquitoes.
It does.
The mosquitoes causes malaria.
Listen, I planted corn in my backyard. I'm telling you about personal experience. I'm telling you what I know. I planted it in my backyard thinking I was going to be good. It does bring mosquitoes.
But who has the natural tree that's a natural cure for malaria and has a tree that produces that if you burn it, it's a natural repellent for mosquitoes? Where do these 2 trees come from?
Centinela?
No, pine cones. You burn it, it repels mosquitoes.
It actually does.
Yes, it
Because
do.
I burn pine cones and the pine needles. I burn the pine needles in my backyard. I mean, that's just personal experience. I don't know nothing.
And the cure for malaria, the tree grows in the Americas. Matter of fact, I think Brother James posted the video on it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he did.
The channel that nobody watches, except one person can give it that thumbs down. Where's my thumbs down?
I did a thumbs up. It's the tree bark. The tree bark gives you the cure for it.
So not only the place where they got their food that they show tribute to, this same place they got the cure. So they can be able to keep producing and growing the food and the repellent.
Let me can I share something else? Okay, can I share this? So,
By all means.
okay. So, turpentine.
Mm-hmm.
So, turpentine is actually pine oil. It's the sap from pine trees. And while it has a bitter taste, Mary Poppins? Yes, no.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Song on Mary Poppins where she says just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Yeah, because they used to give everybody turpentine. I'm old enough to remember.
Right. Makes you better, gets rid of stuff out of your body, blah, blah, blah. Not be saying blah, blah, blah to be dismissive. However, pine tree, pine cones, and the sap from the pine tree, which is also turpentine, um, is not just good for getting rid of other diseases. It's also good for a couple of drops. It's good internally. Just wanted to share that. That's all.
See, now you're messing people up now.
Okay. I'm saying this because I learned this from when I was younger, and it stuck with me, and I really, really appreciated sticking with me. I appreciate everything that every conversation I ear hustled on with all the elders, all the older people when I was younger. I appreciated sticking with me because turpentine is one of many things that stuck with me. And when I decided to Google and find out what turpentine was, I found out that turpentine is actually pine oil. It's the sap from, it's not even pine oil, it's the sap. Turpentine is actually the sap from pine trees.
You messing up people's stuff now.
And I'm just saying, I tasted turpentine out of the can when I bought it. And then I stuck a tree and the sap came out and I tasted that. They both tasted the same, very disgusting, but they were absolutely the same.
Oh man.
Leave that one alone. I'm gonna leave that.
Okay, I
Listen,
get it.
No, you already opened the Pandora's box.
What he told you about giving a gun and ammunition. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so okay. You know what? Okay.
I say nothing. I say nothing.
I just
You
had to
done messed
speak.
it up. Because even when it comes to dealing with the so-called the Vikings, the Nordic people, what day just passed? A few days ago, about 3 days ago. Little day they call it with a little jolly man.
Was that
Beard.
December 25th?
Mm-hmm.
Was that Christmas Day?
What's something that's synonymous that you put gifts around?
Mm-hmm.
That would be an evergreen tree, which is a pine tree.
Absolutely. Did you know that they used to decorate the tree outside and not inside?
You know, they used to not chop down the tree because they understood the significance of the pine that Swarty Pete and his merchants taught them about. Come on,
Yes.
son. As I used to tell my students and my athletes, pine time. Go over there and grab some pine. Take a seat. Keep trying to tell you. For those in attendance, we gonna close it out. Ladies first, Sister Gabrielle Union, if you go ahead and blitz the mic for us, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna come back again. We have to leave you on that clip note. Anything you want to share this evening?
Um, yeah. You know what? Yeah. At the end of the day, you got to ask questions, even if they're to yourself, and you write them down and you Google them or pull a book or a dictionary or whatever the case may be. Because sometimes what you think you know, um, without um, sometimes what you think you know is way bigger than what it is. So it's always great to read, you know, like reading Rainbow. Don't take my word for it. Read a book because the more you know, the more you grow. So
Thank
I'll
you.
read this. Wait. I'll read
Go
this.
ahead.
I'm
Oh,
gonna read
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You paused, and I thought it was a comma when it should
I
have been.
just
It was a period when it should have been a comma. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
I went into a thought. I apologize. Okay, I'll read this. Things change. Sometimes our fate resembles a fruit tree in winter. Who would think that those branches would turn green again and blossom? But we hope, but we hope it. We know it. That's it.
You said a lot when you said a little. But no sellout. You over there, man. But no sellout and fall asleep like somebody else did on the mic. 2 hours. He was 2 hours live stream,
He's on the
and he
vegan
was asleep
couch
on the mic.
with the leaf pillow.
Got his boots, got his cowboy boots on the couch like Rick James. What's going on up in there? But no sellout. Yeah, he's there.
Oh, my bad. Counting broccoli. I forgot. Counting broccoli.
1 bushel, 2 bushel, 3 bushel.
Oh man, he's gonna come back over here by himself. Wonder what happened.
He gonna be in the middle. He gonna be in the middle of your salutation and tell you,
I'm back. I'm back. Brother Thomas said, Thomas, you can go twice, man, because you in here twice. Go ahead.
Man, I appreciate everybody on the panel. I appreciate those in the chat. I appreciate the silent majority. I appreciate all this information, stuff that I would have never known had I not come across you, Sir James. I mean, no words can express the gratitude I have for the information that you choose to share with us. And for you to have been doing and enduring with the misfits that you've been dealing with before YouTube and through YouTube. Sir, all I can say is, yeah, my hat goes off to you, and I thank you. I definitely appreciate you. And I'm just fortunate enough to be able to learn from you. So with that, I say thank you, and I'm going on mute.
Man, like I say, I appreciate you all more than you will ever know. It's very rewarding and most of all, it's very humbling. So I appreciate those kind words, sir. That means more to me than you could ever imagine. So I appreciate that. Brother Bones, you're gonna take us out of here, man.
No problem. Appreciate the opportunity to be on the panel tonight. You know, it's always an honor. Get to work with everybody and they hard work that they put forward to make sure that the right information is coming out. And I want to end on what we started with participation. A lot of people will tell you don't do the census, don't participate in politics, don't participate in the government. But there's a problem with that, relatives, really. Because the one thing that we should have learned by now, by studying our genealogy, our history, is that when times got real dark and real grim, our ancestors didn't run away. They didn't cower. They didn't quit. They actually came together and participated. Whether you agree with the movements before our time, the one thing stays true. They organized and participated. So if we really, really, really want to make change, first we got to be that change. And secondly, we got to start participating. So on that note, it's always an honor to talk to the relatives. It's always an honor to work with this panel. And until we link up again, remember we love you and peace.
Peace, y'all. And my brother, no sellouts, boys. Y'all don't forget. Again, oh, shout out to Minister Inky. And we out.
Oh, you got to do it right. Peace to the panel. Peace to the chat.
That was
Peace,
what my mic
everybody.
out. In the words of Jerry Springer, take care of yourself and each other.